The stars were quiet. Nothing moved in the empty zone between the galaxies. This area was called the Dark Edge. No one came here unless they were lost, desperate, or hiding. But today, 3 alien scout ships were there, scanning deep space for rare minerals. They expected to find floating rocks or old wrecks. What they found instead made their blood run cold. Captain Lernek, leader of the scouting group, sat in his command seat. He watched the hologram screen in front of him as a strange signal blinked. Unusual energy reading detected. The ship's I said softly. Lernek narrowed his eyes. Source? Unknown, the AI answered. But it's large and stationary. The 3 ships turned and flew toward the signal. They moved slowly, carefully, like hunters in fog. No one spoke. As they got closer, the crew started to feel something strange. Their screens flickered, sensors glitched, and some lights dimmed for no reason. Then they saw it. It floated in the darkness like a shadow wearing armor. A massive warship, black as night, silent, still, but terrifying. Its shape didn't match any known species. It looked old, ancient even, but at the same time, too advanced. There were no visible weapons, no lights, no sound. But every alien on board felt something deep in their stomach, fear. One scout pilot whispered, "Is it watching us?" The others said nothing, but they all felt the same chill. The ship's design made no sense. Hard angles, smooth curves, glowing lines that faded in and out. It looked broken in some places and perfect in others, like it had been built long ago and yet never aged. Lernek ordered his ship to move closer. His crew hesitated, but followed his command. As soon as they reached a certain distance, something strange happened. Their communication systems went silent. No signal in, no signal out. The other 2 scout ships also froze, unsure what to do then. One of them, the closest scout, suddenly jerked forward. Its engines flared without being touched. It spun out of control and crashed into a nearby asteroid. Everyone watched in horror as the ship exploded in silence. Lernek's heart pounded. He shouted to retreat, but his voice cracked. The warship did not move, did not attack. It just stayed there, floating like a ghost. But everyone now knew it was dangerous then. Just as suddenly as it appeared, the ship vanished. No flash, no sound, no trace. It was there one moment and gone the next. Sensors could not track it. AI could not explain it. Only fear remained. Back on the main ship, the crew sat in silence. No one wanted to speak first. Lernek finally said, "Record everything. Report to command." The AI tried to save the data, but most of it was corrupted. All video was blurry. All energy readings scrambled. Only one thing remained clear. A single image, a dark ship with a glowing core, floating in the void. Lernek stared at it for a long time. "I've never seen anything like this," he whispered. The crew nodded. They had seen warships before. Some large, some deadly, but this one felt alive. Not just built, but grown, maybe even aware. As they turned their ship around and left the Dark Edge, one thought haunted them. Who built that ship? And why did it let them live? Little did they know, across the galaxy, deep inside a forgotten human archive, a sleeping machine opened its eyes for the first time in 1,000 years. It had detected a scan, a look, a curious touch from outsiders. And now, the warship began to wake up. Its old code whispered through circuits and steel. "Human threat detected," it hummed. "Defense mode. Prepare." The humans had not spoken to the stars in centuries. They had been silent. But now, their silence was broken, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Asterisk. The alien council chamber was made of shining crystal and glowing lights. It stood at the center of a peaceful city on planet Virex, but peace was now fading. Captain Lernek stood before the Grand Council, his skin pale, his voice shaking. He had returned from the Dark Edge with a story that was hard to believe, but the fear in his eyes was real. He raised a shaking hand, holding a hollow image. "This ship, it wasn't built by any known race," he said. "It didn't attack, it just watched, then made one of our ships crash without firing. It disappeared without a trace. The room was quiet, filled with high elders, generals, scientists, and historians. Some leaned forward with interest. Others smirked with disbelief. One counselor, tall and dressed in gold, spoke first. "Are you saying a ghost ship made of shadows destroyed a scout and disappeared?" Laughter echoed across the chamber. Lernek's jaw tightened. "I am saying this ship exists, and it is far beyond anything we understand." Another voice came, older and heavier. It belonged to General Rathun, retired, forgotten, but once a great warrior. He leaned on his cane, but his eyes were sharp. Did it have a glowing core? He asked quietly. Lernek nodded. Yes, a pulsing light. Like a heartbeat. Rathun turned pale, and slowly sat back down. "I've seen drawings of that ship, but only in the Forbidden's archives," he whispered. "It's the one the humans built during the final silence, that name final." Silence sent a chill across the room. Few dared to speak of it. It was a time, nearly 1,000 years ago, when humans vanished from the galaxy. No wars, no messages, just silence. Some believed they destroyed themselves, others believed they went into hiding. But there were whispers that before disappearing, the humans built something monstrous. Chancellor Violin, head of the council, waved a hand. "Old myths don't belong in serious matters," she said coldly. "We need facts, not ghost stories." Rathun's voice grew firm. "That ship is real, Chancellor. It erased a fleet once, centuries ago, near the Dead Sun's region. There were no survivors, only shattered metal floating in a straight line. No scorch marks, no blast points, just erased." Lernek stepped forward. "Call it myth if you want, but it's awake now," he said. "We need to warn other systems. This is not just another ship." But the council was split. Some called it human technology resurfacing, others said it was a trick by rival empires to spread fear. A few wanted to send more scouts, but Rathun slammed his cane on the ground. "Fools," he roared. "You think this is a game? That ship did not show its power, but it could have. If it's what I think it is, then we are standing on the edge of a storm." Silence returned, heavy like stone. But finally, the Chancellor spoke again, calm and cold. "We will not spread fear based on old stories and broken data. We'll send one research ship, quietly with stealth probes. If the humans truly returned, we'll decide how to deal with them." Rathun's face grew hard. "You don't deal with Deathworlders," he said. "You survive them." Later that night, in the shadows of his home, General Rathun opened an old metal box. Inside were records, maps, and a picture burned into ancient memory. A warship, blacker than space, floating above ruins. His voice trembled as he whispered to himself, "They're coming back, and we are not ready." In secret corners of the galaxy, others were watching too. Deep inside artificial moons and long-lost satellites, buried human war codes flickered to life, and the warship, still silent, turned its course toward the nearest alien colony, not to destroy, but to remind. It was awake. It remembered everything. The stars above Varex Prime seemed colder that night. In the heart of the High Records Hall, a young alien named Kale worked alone. He was not a soldier or counselor, just a low-level data historian. But his curiosity was dangerous, especially now, after the return of something impossible. Kale had watched the council meeting from the archive shadows. He saw the fear in General Rathun's face. He heard the words "final silence." The ghost ship, Deathworlders. He couldn't sleep. So he returned to the hall, where ancient records were kept in crystal vaults. Most were locked, but Kale had found a way in. He stood in front of a sealed door that hadn't opened in 947 years. The code was forbidden, the language old. Still, his hands moved with purpose. He typed slowly, matching the symbols he had studied in secret. The door hissed open. Dust and cold air spilling out like a breath held too long. Inside, shelves stretched far into the dark. Here lived the unspoken archives records, too dangerous, too painful to share. He activated an old holotable and searched one word, human. 1,000 files blinked into view, many too damaged to open. But one pulsed gently, titled Project Silence. Cale hesitated, then tapped it. The recording began, showing grainy black and white footage. A massive battlefield in space, alien fleets flying in formation. Then a shape emerged, dark and silent. The same shape Lernick had described. It didn't fire. It didn't speak yet. The other ships began to fall apart, one by one, without explosion, just failing. Shields collapsed, engines died, ships drifted like broken leaves, and then a whisper came from the recording. Not loud, not angry, just calm. "This is your only warning." Cale's heart pounded. He fast-forwarded the file, watching. The destruction spread. No human ships joined the battle, just that one unstoppable force. The last frame showed an alien emperor kneeling, surrendering to no one, and a line of text beneath the image read, "After this day, humanity vanished." Cale stepped back, stunned. Why was this hidden? He whispered. Behind him, an old voice answered, "Because truth is heavier than war." Cale spun around, eyes wide. General Rathun stood in the doorway, leaning on his cane. "I thought someone would come here," he said softly. "You saw the recording, didn't you?" Cale nodded slowly. "This ship, it's the same," he said. "Why is it back now?" Rathun looked up at the ceiling, as if searching the stars. "I don't know," he said, "but I fear what it means." He walked toward the screen and touched the image of the warship. It was the last gift humans gave this galaxy before vanishing, he said. They called it a guardian, a warning, a promise. Others called it vengeance made of metal. Cale whispered. "And it survived 1,000 years?" "No," Rathun replied. "It waited 1,000 years." They both stared at the dark ship's image, and in that silence, a signal suddenly lit up on Cale's datapad. A new alert from another edge of space. A trade station had just gone. Silent, no attack recorded, no message sent. But in the last frame sent by the station's camera, that same ship floated outside, watching, waiting. Cale looked at Rathun, his voice barely a breath. "It's moving." Rathun nodded. "Yes," he said. "And now the echoes have become footsteps. For 500 years, humans said nothing. No signals, no ships, no trade, no war, just silence. Many believed they were extinct. Others believed they had gone back to their deadly homeworld, to destroy each other. But now, something was moving, something old, and not forgotten. In a far-off mining colony called Jeruin's Edge, miners were working deep inside asteroid tunnels. They were harvesting rare energy crystals used in star cores. Suddenly, the lights flickered, tools shut down, and gravity went strange. Everyone rushed outside to see what was wrong. What they saw made them fall to their knees. Above the colony floated a massive black warship. It made no sound, no movement, no threats. Its design was like a dream or a nightmare. Smooth curves, deadly lines, glowing cracks. It looked like it was made from something alive. The miners tried to send alerts, but the system was jammed. No calls in, no calls out. One brave miner, an old pilot, whispered, That's not just a warship. That's the warship." A small alien patrol ship nearby decided to investigate. It moved slowly toward the silent giant, scanning for weapons or movement, but the moment it reached within 100 kilometers, its engines failed. Its lights shut off, and it drifted like a feather. No damage. No blast, just turned off like a toy. And then, a message appeared across every screen in the colony. Not in their language, but in ancient Galactic common. The screen read, "We are awake." The message sent panic across the mining world. The miners evacuated, leaving everything behind. Within hours, 10 governments knew the warship had reappeared, and within a day, every major media channel in the galaxy played the same footage. A dark warship hanging in the sky, silent, alive, and one short line repeating, "We are awake." The reaction was chaos. Some laughed and called it fake. Some cried and whispered prayers. Some governments held emergency meetings. And deep within a cold moon, a hidden council gathered known only as the Watchers. They had been waiting for this day. Their leader, a wrinkled alien with 4 eyes, whispered, "It has begun." Meanwhile, in a long-forgotten base, hidden in a stormy desert on Earth, a dusty terminal blinked for the first time in centuries. A hologram appeared, an old man in a military uniform, half human, half machine. He looked at the camera and spoke just 4 words. "Protocol 12 is active." Across the galaxy, satellites belonging to long-dead human colonies came to life. Navigation codes locked onto star systems with known alien fleets. A system of machines, drones, hidden probes, silent weapons began to hum. The humans had never disappeared. They had simply stopped talking. But now, they were speaking again. At the Galactic Assembly, alien leaders panicked. They had forgotten the human name, their history, their power, but the ancient files reminded them all. Deathworlders, builders of war, makers of peace through strength. One ambassador from the Creel Empire stood and shouted, "If the humans are back, then war is coming." But the oldest member of the assembly shook her head slowly. "No," she said. "War already happened. This is the warning after the storm." Back on Jeruan's edge, the human warship did not move. It just waited. No weapons drawn, no soldiers sent. But everyone who looked at it felt the same thing, like being watched by something old. Something that had seen too much. And the question spread across every star system like wildfire. Why? Now, why return after so long? What woke them? And somewhere in the dark on a human ship buried beneath ice and silence, a voice came through a dusty speaker. A young human soldier opened his eyes and smiled. "They called us extinct," he whispered. "Let's remind them who we are." Across 1,000 worlds, the news spread like fire. The humans had returned, not with diplomats, not with messages, but with a warship no one could explain on the planet Thelex, 3 moons away from the edge of human territory. The royal family of the Arxan Empire held an emergency meeting. Inside the crystal throne room, Emperor Drex was shaking for the first time in his rule. He had conquered 5 systems and crushed 3 rebellions, but now he sat speechless, watching a single image on the floating holoscreen. The human ship, still floating above Jeruan's edge, unchanged, no sign of weapons, no movement, just that glowing, pulsing core. His daughter, a young warrior princess, asked in confusion, "Why does this ship scare everyone so much?" "It hasn't even attacked." The old warlord beside her looked up slowly and said, "Because it doesn't need to." In the galactic news web, every major feed showed the same headline. "The Deathworlders have awakened," reporters argued. On screen, scientists debated in labs and soldiers whispered in fear. The word human had returned to every language after centuries of silence. On the desert planet core, a religious cult known as the Circle of Steel began singing in the streets. They believed the warship was a divine judge sent by forgotten gods. They raised banners that read, "The builders return, kneel or burn." Some governments tried to calm the panic. The Zilari Confederacy announced, "It is only one ship there. Is no reason to believe Earth has returned." But even they sent their children to underground shelters, just in case, on trade routes and border systems. Fleets were moved, drills increased, but none dared to aim weapons toward the human ship. No matter how confident they were, there was something unspoken in every commander's heart, a memory, maybe passed down, maybe inherited of what humans could do when angered. In the Great Mind Vault, where AI historians kept records from all known civilizations, a superintelligent AI named Ark read through old human files. It stopped at a classified document simply titled, Terran Response Model 47, Total Extermination Mode. The AI blinked, then locked the file forever. "No one must see this," it said quietly. "We are not ready." Meanwhile, deep inside the Arrogance Empire, a young commander named Kor did the unthinkable. He launched a scout drone toward the human warship without permission. He thought it would prove something, that the humans were just a myth. But as the drone reached close, it disappeared. No signal, no remains, just gone. And the warship turned, just slightly, as if to say, "We noticed." Core was never seen again. Back in the Galactic Assembly, arguments turned to screams. Some wanted peace talks, others wanted to strike first, but no one dared to vote, because none of them had sent a message yet, and yet, the humans already knew where they were, on a peaceful farming moon. A retired alien general sat in silence. He had fought in the last human war, long ago. He stared at the stars, tears in his old eyes. "They told me it was over," he said. Softly, they lied. On Earth, still covered in silence, secret bunkers opened. Training programs activated. Children were shown how to rebuild old weapons. Elders whispered the ancient code. Humanity doesn't strike first, but we always finish it. And as the stars shook under fear, the warship drifted slowly, heading toward the center of the galaxy, toward the ones who had once betrayed the humans, toward the ones who had forgotten their place. It still hadn't fired a single shot, but it had already broken the galaxy. Asterisk in the frozen heart of a forgotten planet, where the sun never rose. An ancient lab still lived beneath the ice. Its doors hadn't opened in 900 years. But today, they did. Inside the lab. A single light blinked, and a mechanical voice said, "Awakening protocol complete." The walls shook, ice cracked, and a hidden terminal came to life. Old human logs filled the screen data. Ship records, DNA sequences, and something stranger. Words written in a lost dialect only few could still read. At the top of the screen was one name, Project Ironsol. Meanwhile, in orbit above a neutral moon, the warship, black, silent, and watching, shifted slightly. It had arrived at its destination. Not to attack, but to reveal. A small pod ejected from its belly and floated down to the surface. No weapons, no soldiers, just silence. The pod landed gently in front of a research outpost run by the Zoral species. Curious, the scientists approached with scanners and drones. Inside the pod was no bomb, no virus, only a single artifact, a cube made of black crystal and old earth metal. When touched, the cube unfolded and showed something that made every scientist fall silent. Inside was a beating heart, not flesh, not machine, but something in between. It glowed blue with living memory and ancient rage. One word pulsed in their minds as they stared at it. Conscious. The human warship was alive, not piloted, not programmed, living. Built long ago using both technology and mind, not an AI, but a symbiosis of a human brain. Neural steel, emotion and code. A weapon that could think, feel, choose, not bound by rules, not limited by power. It remembered every betrayal, every friend lost, every promise broken, and it had waited, back on Earth. A woman stood in a hidden facility beneath Mount Atrion. She was one of the last remaining war mothers, part of the Iron Soul program, her body old, her mind sharp. Connected through a mental link to the warship far away, she whispered gently, "Do they know now, my child?" From space, the warship sent a single pulse back, "Yes," in the Galactic Assembly. Panic turned to horror as the truth spread. The warship was not just old, it was aware. It was not made to win battles, it was made to end wars, created by humans during their final days in the galaxy, when all alliances had turned against them, when surrender was no longer an option. The idea was simple. If humanity was to vanish, let one remain to watch, one who could think for itself, wait for the right time, one who could speak without speaking, strike without warning, one who could carry the grief of an entire species. And now it had returned, not to fight, but to remind the galaxy of what they had tried to erase. A warning written in steel and sorrow, a memory made of fire, inside the lab beneath the ice. The final log played. A human voice, calm but tired, said, "If you hear this, then we are gone. But if the ship still flies, then you should be afraid. because it means our patience has ended. And out there in space, the warship glowed slightly, its core no longer pulsing with sleep, but with choice. Because a living warship does not just follow orders, it remembers, it mourns, and sometimes it decides. The galaxy held its breath, from frozen moons to burning suns. All eyes were watching the sky. The human warship, once forgotten, now feared, had moved again, not toward a military target, not toward a throne world, but toward a prideful empire. Known for its cruelty, the same empire that once led the betrayal against Earth 1,000 years ago. The Zircon Armada, proud and undefeated, waited in formation, 13 warships, all armed with the most powerful plasma cannons ever built. Their commander, Lord Virak, stood on the bridge of his flagship with a smile. He did not believe in ghosts, he believed in strength. "This is no god," he said to his officers. "It is only a ship. Ships can be destroyed." The human vessel drifted toward them like a shadow with purpose. It made no threats, no calls, no demands, just a slow, steady approach. And that silence frightened everyone more than words ever could. Lord Virak gave the order. All cannons lock on and prepare to fire. The Zircon fleet aimed every weapon at the black ship. Still, it did not stop. It moved forward, without fear, without hurry. One nervous lieutenant whispered, "Commander, why doesn't it fire back?" Virak growled, "Because it's broken. It's bluffing." Then, a signal came through, not a voice, not a language, but a feeling. Every mind on every ship felt it at once. Grief, pain, anger, and something colder. Disappointment. The core of the warship began to glow brighter, hotter, pulsing like a star ready to burst. The Zircon ships opened fire. Beams of light shot through space. Explosions rippled in waves. But when the smoke cleared, the human warship was still there, untouched, not a scratch, not a dent. As if the universe itself refused to harm it. And then it responded not with a weapon, but with a choice. In a blinding flash, the Zircon fleet vanished. No sound, no wreckage, no flames, just gone, like they were never there. Back in the Galactic assembly, silence ruled. No one dared speak. Even the most powerful empires lowered their flags. For the first time in history, every system agreed on something. A new law was passed. Do not provoke Earth. Do not forget the Iron Soul. In the ruins of the old human outpost on Mars, a single message was etched into stone. It was written in a mix of human and alien language. And it read, "We did not return for revenge. We returned because you forgot to be afraid." Now, the warship moved one last time toward the void, not to hide, not to rest, but to watch. To remind the stars that peace was not free, that silence does not mean weakness. That memory can become a weapon when ignored too long. And somewhere in a small village on a quiet human colony, a child looked up at the stars. He didn't know about wars or councils or fear, but he pointed to the sky and smiled. "Is that our protector?" he asked. His grandfather nodded. "No," he said, "that is our ghost, our last guardian." And in the deep black of space, the Iron Soul waited, not to destroy, but to remind the galaxy that humanity remembers everything and forgets nothing.